Oh boy, round 2 of the triple header, and after the sleep-inducing Grand Prix that was Spain, we are back for another F1 sprint weekend. This is Connor F1, and this is the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix. So Formula 1 has returned for the next round of the season, here in Spielberg at the Red Bull Ring. So we should be getting ready for another Max Verstappen victory. So just before we get into it, if you find yourself liking this video, or you find yourself coming back every now and again, why not subscribe so that you never miss a video and you can help me get to 200 subscribers. So let's see if we can get there by the end of the triple header. So, let's get on with the video. As usual, the action off track has mostly been around the driver market, and besides Sainz continuing to keep us in the dark about what team he's going to, a couple of drivers have finally made a decision already. Aston Martin has continued their downward spiral by deciding to keep Lance Stroll on for the foreseeable future, or in other words, not until Daddy's cash kicks the bucket. Gasly must have also been feeling this masochistic, as he decided to remain at Alpine until at least the end of next year, but I think it would be fair to say this might not have been his own choice to make, or if it was, he's hoping for Ocon to be used like Singapore 2008. In a less solid position is of course Daniel Ricciardo, who continues to have Liam Lawson nipping at his heels. But more fuel has been added to the fire, with Helmut Marko finally making his name on this channel again by stating that Lawson will be in the RB fold soon. And with Tsunoda now locked in for next year, it seems the Honey Badger might find himself in the retirement home before the end of the season. Sargent has also been linked with a team, though not one in F1, as Prima continues to work on an IndyCar team, with Logan Sargent being linked to the team, which would probably be for the best for Logie Bear, because in IndyCar, you can have as many chassis as you want. And finally in the news, once again there's been some track changes to the layout, with track limits on the final corners being widened. Though, I have a feeling they probably won't be getting used as much as they think with the new death traps that have been put on as well. So onto the action on track with FP1, with a single hour-long session for the teams to get their setups right before sprint qualifying. So the drivers were pushing their cars in hopes of finding the right setup. Though I don't think stopping on track was part of the Red Bull run plan. Verstappen would find himself slowly rolling backwards down the front straight as his engine would give out on him. And though he was able to get it back out on track, with this already being his third power unit of the season, we could be looking at someone different on pole for the rest of the season. The McLaren of Norris would also be pushing to get himself ahead of the Red Bulls once again, but instead, probably gave Albon some Hamilton flashbacks as he would run into the gravel at that infamous corner. The new gravel traps were doing their job, as there was almost no track limit problems at these corners, though the drivers were pushing the limits, so the force is telling me that there's gonna be a crash on its way. The A1 ring is one of the shortest circuits on the calendar, so Tsunoda should hopefully do well here, but this also means that traffic became a problem, with Stroll once again proving just how good he is at being a moving chicane in front of Hamilton. Russell also had a scare with Zhou, and Tsunoda added a small pile of shit to his cockpit, with Albon pulling a Sargent. Hulkenberg would also have some fun being in the traffic, with him struggling to get out of the way of Max and Charles, and then calling them crybabies. Okay, go off then. So the session would come to an end, with Verstappen fighting back from his engine malfunction to top the timing sheets, with Piastri and Leclerc behind. So, heading into the sprint qualifying, our only hope of a non-Verstappen pole is Lance Stroll not remembering what a steering wheel is. So into sprint qualifying with SQ1, where Sargent is already ahead of Albon before the final runs. Okay, what is going on? SQ1 had the track completely full of all the cars right behind each other, with the usual cars finding themselves in the knockout zone, so the drivers would push the limits. Though Tsunoda would probably push a little bit too hard, as the gravel traps would finally take their first victim, with Yuki sliding down the hills before being able to keep it out of the wall. SQ1 would have both state cars, just not trying, with Zhou 6/10 off in 15th. Hulkenberg would also be knocked out, and Albon would fail to get his car out of SQ1, with Ricciardo joining him just missing out, even with Tsunoda having a spin. Wait, someone's missing. Holy shit. So besides that, we should move on to SQ2, where Stroll would start us off by almost giving us a second victim of the gravel traps, but would save the car, but not his lap time, as he'd be knocked down SQ2, with Alonso somehow finishing behind his teammate, Tsunoda keeping it so slow that he didn't kill the car again, Sargent knowing he couldn't do any better than he already was, and K-Mag, who would go fastest in Sector 1, but would still miss out. So with that, we head on to SQ3, where we would get action even before we got on track, as Russell would try to get out ahead of his teammate, as Leclerc told his engine to try to be like the Honda engine. But I don't think he meant like Verstappen's engine. This engine problem would lead to Leclerc not being able to complete a lap, which he wasn't too happy about, as the rest of the cars would cross the line. Russell outpaced his teammate, though the slow-moving Leclerc did hold up Hamilton, as both McLarens would go faster, as Sainz wouldn't be able to do anything with his Ferrari engine, as Max Verstappen would cross the line to go faster than Lando, by only 1/10, so as the Orange Army would celebrate an Orange 1-2, we would question if Austria would create yet another crazy sprint just like last year. At the start, no, wait, we have to redo the formation lap as some cameramen were in front of the runoff at turn 1, which in itself was a stupid move, but with the Alpine so high up, it would have 100% been a death sentence. At the real start, Max would hold on with ease as he would begin to run away, as the McLarens would begin to fight for second, with Oscar remembering that Aussies don't exactly do too well at the orange team, so backed off, as Sainz and Russell would fight for fourth. Wait, okay, we're all good. Sainz is ahead. Let's save that for the rain race. Max would begin to try and break DRS, but with the short lap distance, Norris would be able to remain within a 1 second window, as we would all hold our breaths as Stroll and Ocon found themselves on the same bit of tarmac, with us all being surprised that it didn't end in a crash. Lando would now begin to push Max corner after corner, so Max would have to continue to go on the defense, until Lando used the one thing Ricciardo showed him by diving down the inside. As Lando would then get DRS, Max looked like he would have to stay behind, until he pulled off one of the best moves of the season and went for a tiny gap, pushing Lando out, allowing Piastri to pick up the pieces and get into P2. So as the lead battle would continue to calm down, the battle heated up as Russell and Sainz continued to battle, with Russell getting past Sainz with ease, probably making Hamilton question whether his move to the Scarlet team was the right decision. So why don't we look at the battle for first? Guys, where's the timing tower? Like, what's the gap? What's going on for the battle for first? Like, why are we only seeing the Alpines? Lucky for the F1 highlight reel, the part of the race without the tower had no action anyway, but the fact that we couldn't see the gaps didn't exactly make my life easy. But luckily, the race would end as Max would break away from the McLarens, who would fight for second, with Max crossing the line to win the most meaningless race of the year, with Piastri just holding off Lando for second. So after the practically second practice session of the weekend, we would head straight into qualifying for the main race, which will hopefully be better than SQ... oh, come on! Q1 will begin with Alonso would be able to get himself out, while Albon would once again fail to get into Q2, with the teams and drivers returning to their right place, with the state cars, Stroll running out of talent, and Sargent back down in the knockout zone. Q2 would continue, with Alonso not being able to get his Aston anywhere higher than 15th, with the opposite happening to Hulkenberg, who would fight his back from his sprint quality mess up and get himself into Q3, with his teammate not being able to join him, as Magnussen will be joined by the before stated Alonso, both V-cards with Ricciardo ahead of Tsunoda this time, and Gasly, who would have made it into Q3 if he wasn't driving like Bottas and cutting some gravel. So on to Q3, where Max would first set the mark, with Lando next going 3/10 behind. Oh god, here we go again. No other car would come close to this, with Perez, who I've hardly talked about this weekend, over a second behind. So as we headed into the final runs, I think it would be fair to say that our fate is sealed. And yeah, it was, as Max would go even quicker by 1/10. So as the other cars crossed the line, we knew there was nothing else to say, but Max Verstappen is on pole for the main race. So, in celebration, Leclerc did some bunny hops through the gravel. Gravel 2, drivers 1. So as the cars made their way to the grid, we would question if anyone could beat the Flying Dutchman. At the start, Lando would forget what pedal was the accelerator, as Max would storm away as Norris would just hold off Russell. As all the way down the field, battling would happen, though I don't think Leclerc had his front wing being broken on his to-do list this race, as he would find himself in a Piastri-Perez sandwich and get his wing broken off by Piastri. So as Max would lead the field away once again, Perez and Oscar would continue to fight. Wait, okay. Wow. Okay, the flashbacks are getting too much this weekend. So as Leclerc would get ready for another race of pain, the fight for the podium would heat up, as Hamilton would finally show some pace and get past his teammate at turn 3. But because it had been so long since he was ahead of Russell, let Russell have the DRS to get right back past. So as Hamilton would continue to drop down, Piastri would be looking to match his sprint finish by once again using the outside line to perfection to get past Perez for 6th, who is really making Red Bull question their ability to hire good drivers lately. With this, the drivers would be able to begin to pit, with most of the cars going to the hard tyres. But not before Zhou would get hit by his now former hero Alonso, with this move getting the Spaniard a penalty. Though, with how this race was looking for Aston Martin, I don't think it's gonna matter. So as the fight up front stopped being a fight, the Alpines would begin to use their usual infighting, with Gasly getting stuck behind his teammate, who in turn was stuck behind the slow-moving Alonso. So as Gasly gave Ocon the go faster, as Ocon would finally get past, with Gasly trying to follow through and get past the slower Alpine, but not before Ocon did an Ocon and pushed him out wide. Gasly of course wasn't too happy about this, so struck right back, using Ocon's lack of skill to get past his fellow Frenchman into P11, with Alonso probably just watching back and watching his old team explode. As Piastri would get past Hamilton for 3rd, all eyes finally moved back to the battle for the lead, with Max now 6 seconds ahead, though on this track that isn't saying much, so both drivers would pit. Though I don't know if the Red Bull pit crew just wanted to see some more action, or they just plainly fucked up, as Max would get a slow pit stop, and with Verstappen then seeing Bottas in his mirrors, would get scared, giving Lando the perfect chance to strike. So Lando would go for it, and once again would try to get it at turn 3, but Max learned from his mistake at the sprint and held him off, as the battle would continue lap after lap, with Lando trying everything to get ahead. But with Lando believing that Max was moving under braking, he would have to get his elbows out. Lando would once again run up the hill behind Verstappen, but this time at turn 3, he would go for a gap that existed on the outside, that Max would try to cover it off by hitting into the side of Norris, and with some more contact, and with Max pushing Lando onto the grass, everything would come to an end with a puncture. With this, both Lando and Max were now out of the fight for the win, with Russell, who had gone long on the hard tyres, somehow coming out of nowhere to pick up the pieces. But the fight was not over, as Piastri would get past Sainz and would begin to chase down the silver arrows. Oh, and Toto, shut up and let him drive. But for the first time, the Mercedes would have pace, and after some of the craziest last lap action, somehow George Russell would cross the line to win the Austrian Grand Prix, with Piastri in 2nd and Sainz in 3rd, with our once great leaders either finishing 5th or not finishing at all. So that was the Austrian Grand Prix. What a weird ride that was. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a video. And you can be here for my review of the Silverstone Grand Prix. I've been Connor, signing off.